All right. Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of I Don't Even Podcast. I am Youssef, joined as always from my man from the land of the rising sun, Jonathan. How we doing, Jonno?
Hi, Youssef. Thank you very much for asking. I am still, in fact, a free agent. Thank you very much for asking.
We're running with it.
That's it.
Exciting weekend for myself at least. I just came back from Tasmania or Tassie FighterCon numero cuatro. And it was a great weekend. Very, very fun. Hobart scene is super nice and friendly. There was about 80 something people, around 80 people all up for the weekend. So it was good. There was a healthy interstate presence. There was a few people from Sydney. Myself, I don't remember everyone. There was myself, Dion, Stefan, Audacity, Prods, New South Wales, and one other guy, I forgot his name, who's a cross-tag player from Sydney. I think that's about it. And there was quite a bit of contingency from Melbourne, mainly for... Oh, and Runis was there from Sydney. And there was a lot of people from Melbourne as well. Like there was about 7 or 8 people for Tekken, a couple other for Soul Calibur. Borgie was there, Joe was there. There were a few for anime. Javi was there. Forte was there. So it was good interstate presence, mainly from New South Wales and Victoria. Ignis was there from Melbourne for Smash Ultimate, who I thought was going to win the tournament, but he was reset on and from a Tasmania boy, and he actually ended up coming second. So shout outs to Luma for actually coming back from losers and taking that win for Tasmania. So that was pretty dope. But yeah, overall great weekend. They really looked after the people that came down. Like for everyone, like there were free. As when you picked up your badge, you got a coupon for a free sausage roll and a free coffee from bakery just down the street. On Sunday, they got about like 20 pizzas for everyone for one of the sponsors. There were a lot of Red Bull fridges all around the venue, just filled up to the brim with different flavors of Red Bull for free for everyone. Like they really, really went out of their way to look after all the interstaters and just everyone at the event. So honestly, great event. Massive, massive shout out to Sammy T and to Tyler Watson, aka Mullet Cap, to Blue, to everyone else that helped run the event. It was really, really enjoyable, guys. Like seriously, everyone say, "Oh, we need more, events around Australia." Like there are more events around Australia. I mean, Perth just ran their first mini major last year. Tassie FighterCon's been going now for 4 years strong, and it keeps getting better and better. Let's support. Let's go out. And speaking of more events around Australia, I just want to go from one point into another point. Expand Gong is coming up in 2 months. I know it's mainly known as, it's more not mainly, but more known for Smash event. But Sean and all the other TOs, they really went out of the way. 2K pot bonus for Tekken, for Street Fighter, for Dragon Ball. I mean, 2K is 2K, bro. So, and they're doing it because they really want to push the FGC and traditional FGC titles. So please come down and support. If you're in Sydney, it's only an hour away. If you need a lift there, I already have 2 spots taken in my car. I'm more than happy to give the other 2 spots for anyone. I'll drive you there and we're back wherever you are. You don't have to pay me shit. I just want you to come out and support, Wollongong scene. Anyone, interstaters as well, already offered a car seat to Somniac, who was really keen on coming. I was speaking to Falco at Tasmania. Falco was there as well from Adelaide. I was speaking to him and he said he's actually really keen on Expand Gong. He wants to try to make it. So guys, come out. Like we'll look after you. Just come to Sydney and leave the rest, on us. So yeah, definitely come out and support.
Yeah, and I went to the first Expand Gong, which was the first year of SF5. It was hectic then, and from all accounts, it's just gotten better and better since. So that's awesome. And Tasmania, same deal there. Like I think, was it back in the day? Like it was mainly an anime centered and maybe Tekken focused event, and it's sort of grown a bit more since then. I don't know. With what were the main games? Like I know Tasmania was pretty strong in anime, but what other stuff are they sort of known for down there?
Smash and Tekken are probably the biggest two games there at the moment, from what I saw, which kind of is to be expected. I feel like I'm not hating on any other
They should
games
be
or
the
any,
big two games because they're the two
but
best products at the moment,
at the
probably.
moment, yeah, I feel every state the biggest presence is in Tekken and Smash Ultimate. So yeah, I'm pretty sure because Tekken was the last game on the FGC side, and Ultimate was a pretty hype game, and it was also the last thing around on the Smash side. So and everyone was really into that. And just a quick segue. I don't know the guy, but he made a tweet today. His name is Smash Player. His name is Paz X or something like that. He made a tweet. He was at TFC, and then he's like something along the lines where you guys know I'm a Smash guy, whatever, but FGC hype is unmatched, and Smash scene can never reach FGC levels of hype at an event. And then I'm like, I don't know who this guy is, but I'm gonna follow him. And then if he's at BAM, I'm gonna definitely buy him a fucking drink or two because he knows what's up. So shout outs to Pazex or whatever his name is. You know that guy spits some truth. So yeah.
Yeah, sick. That's a pretty full on weekend.
Mm.
Over here in Japantown, well, hello, welcome.
How's Type A?
We got internet. That's something that happened between now and last episode. I'm finally, after 2.5 months, I have a decent connection. So yeah, the same day I got internet, Street Fighter V Type A came out, and you know we might as well get into news as we talk about it. So I'm going to transition over to their awful website while we do this. Boom, and where are the boys? Hang on. There's the news, and there are the fellas. Maybe I'll put us down here or something. So as you'd expect, it's like a Nessica 2 port of Street Fighter V. So you can use your Nessica card, but you can use like also your Amy card. So it's much like how Tekken can use the Amy cards and all the other cards. Like it's very open in that regards. It's what you'd expect. 100 yen, you get 12 minutes in training mode, or you go to arcade mode and you sort of run your thing online. Unlike the console version of Street Fighter V, it has player points and battle points, which Street Fighter 4 players might know because you've got like your separate points for your character and then your overall, like, I guess, account level, which is nice, I guess. So
Are you capped at 10 wins, where even if you're winning, if you hit 10 win
they'll kick you
streak,
off, yeah.
you have to pay another 100 yen?
Yeah, that's how that works. But what's funny about that is so like I'm not great at 5, but I'm like okay at 5. So like my win rate is like I lost once or something, but on my first credit I didn't even hit the 10 win limit, not because of what are you gonna say?
I'm gonna say I'm not great at 5. I'm alright at 5. You know, I only lost once.
The people playing in arcades are like
Casual brag.
Straight up, the people playing in arcades for Street Fighter V are a completely different set of people playing than the people on console. You can tell by the way they're playing. Like they're doing Street Fighter 4 style combos. Like the gimmicks they're going for are completely different to what you'd see online. It's a completely different crowd, and like it's totally evident why. And there are a lot of problems with the game, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But they're completely different people.
Is it safe to say they all play like free agents?
They all play like they're playing like free agents. They're trying to get that bus fare to YSB hard. You don't understand. Like these guys are partying hard. But what I was gonna say is I didn't hit the 10 win limit once, and my arcade, they have the training mode set up to the maximum setting. Like they give you 12 idle minutes in training mode, right? So you have 12 minutes that you can be in training mode until they kick you off, right? The highest I hit was like 7 wins, and I was playing on like a Saturday afternoon, and I hit 7 wins and 12 minutes expired. Like it's not super populated, and there's a pretty good reason for that. Anybody that played the arcade version of Tekken will tell you that that thing lags. And I'm not talking about like network lag. Like the network connection was fine because you're only getting Japanese players, right? I'm talking about the actual input lag. Is like this is all bro science metrics. I want to get this up front. Like there's nothing solid about this, right? But I reckon it's up around the 6-7 frame mark in terms of actual input lag. Like it was bad. I played a credit. I went home and played online for a bit, and the difference was night and day. And something like I was talking to a couple of Tekken players. They said something about V-Sync on the monitors, being able to turn that off, but there was no
Yeah,
option I could find for that. So like
it,
it's
it
just a
makes a
laggy
difference.
port. Yeah, it would absolutely make a difference. But compared to console, it feels like Season 2. Like it feels bad compared to the arcade edition reduction. So that wasn't good. And things like when you play a ranked match, the way it works is like you can sort of if you lose, you can chuck 100 yen in and play the same guy again, but otherwise it kicks you back to training mode or whatever. And it does stuff like it doesn't save your like if you set wake up jab, for example, right? You'll come back out to training mode and then you have to go and re-record it every single time. Like it's just like I mean, this might shock you, but Capcom have kind of released a product in a not 100% finished state, and like whatever, like it's an arcade thing, they can update it, but I will not be like unless I have a really bad day online. Like I don't think I'm going to be playing much of that anytime soon because there's really no reason to sort of play it at this point in time. But I don't know, it might get more people into the game. Like I said, all the Akumas were trying to do
Hopefully.
up forward fireballs. Like you could tell, right? Like they get V trigger one, they do that fireballs, and then they do 3 jumps in a row after the V triggers run out because they keep trying to do it and it's not working. So that was interesting, but like at the end of the day, I don't know. Like it's Street Fighter Five, and it's a bad version of that game. So
It's a Street Fighter Five, which I feel unfortunate. It's as much as I hate saying it, even though it's no secret to anyone, I am an arcade boy. But I feel as time goes by, fighting games are going to become less and less relevant in the arcade. So
yeah, big
it's just the
time.
sad truth. Yeah, just the sad truth, man.
One nice thing that they have, like, I'm looking at the Taito website, so those watching live can see this little window on the left here is the 2 options you get. You get arcade and training mode. You can actually link your CFN to your console one. So I've linked up my PS4 and my arcade one. Like, I don't know, it's like a stats thing. It doesn't really matter that much. Like with, I don't know if Tekken has this. I know the newest Gundam has this.
You can't link PS4 stats.
Oh yeah, not the linking of the
Okay.
stats, but you can they have like a USB port next to the stick, so you can play pad. And man, there was
No,
some dudes
I
mashing.
think most of them they don't. I think very, 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 very few of them have. I don't know if anyone in the chat can correct me, but yeah, as far as I know, most of them don't. Because I remember, like for example, when Anakin goes to play in Japanese arcades, he always has to play, just use the arcade cabinet, and he's a pad player. So yeah.
Well, that's one thing. Like the newest Gundam definitely has it, and you know it's literally just a USB port next to the stick. It's whatever. It's cool. So there are nice aspects of the port, and like someone mentioned in the chat, if this is all you've got, it's a fine way to play Street Fighter Five if you don't know any better. But as someone who plays Chun like me, who is very hit confirm centric, you feel that shit straight away, and I mean, I hope someone does the test, but I'm going to go on the record and say it's somewhere around the 6-7 frame mark because it was bad. But you know what? Like, whatever. It's cool that it's finally out there. Interested to see if BB Tag follows suit in terms of input lag and all the other stuff. But yeah, that was an interesting time, I guess.
I hope it brings more people to the scene. Like honestly, that's like my main concern. Because it's more available now, at the arcades. So people, Japs love their arcade culture. So they see it, they're like, I want to get good at this game. They come out, the scene, grows even more. I mean, it's always good seeing more play. I mean, it's in Japan, but numbers are numbers.
And you know what's interesting about Street Fighter Five in Japan is so Momochi and Choco, they have their arcade hub, or not arcade hub, their offline hub called Sky Studio. They recently got partnered at the end of last year, and all their offline meets, so the Friday night and the all day Sunday meets, they're free. So you can play SF5, and that's where like the top dogs go, right? Like you're seeing like all the mad dogs go through there every week. You can play
Mad
there
dog.
twice a week. the Red Bull Gaming Sphere with Juna does the Fighting Tuesdays. Every Thursday they have free play there. So that's like 3 days a week you can play SF5 for free. And then if you want to fork out, you can go to Esports Square, which is like a bit expensive, but you routinely get a lot of good talent. So if you sort of want to get noticed by the big dogs, it's worth going to. But like for someone like me who can just sort of grind online now, there's just so many avenues to play for free. Like the game is in a relatively good spot, which is good because the more games that are in the good spot, better for the scene.
Of course.
But I guess we can. Do you want to segue off that? Because I want to end on a good note. I want to end on talking about the Australian side of things. So should we talk about what do you want to go into final round next or Tekken World Tour?
Let's do final round since we're talking on about SF5.
Okay, so this news comes courtesy of Shoryuken, who's done a roundup of the results. So I'll quickly run through the top threes for the big games. Street Fighter V, third place Fudo Johnny, who was taken out by his teacher Momochi in second place, who got beaten in the reset against Punk in grand finals, who I believe got knocked into losers in top 48 by Gachikun and made it all the way back to take that thing. So he's sitting pretty with Karen. 2 Karens in the top 3. Damn, it's a good showing for that character.
2 Karens in top 3, and CJ Truth, who came 4th, also used Colleen for a bit, but I don't know how much he used her in top 8. Keep in mind, like I didn't watch a single match of final round because I was in Tasmania, so it's kind of like 2 Colleens and 2 Karens in top 8. So, yeah, Colleen is a good character, man. I've been telling BK for a while to play her, but doesn't want to play her for like the stupidest reasons.
Well, we'll get to the announcement side of things, or the lack of announcement side of things, and sort of the impact that had on the scene in a second. But we'll just run through the rest of the results. Tekken 7, third place, Joey Fury. Second place, Trungi. First place, Shadow 20Z. That was a pretty cool top 3. Atlanta's known for their Tekken scene, but they weren't part of the World Tour for whatever reason. Yeah. Though the numbers, like people showed up, which was cool.
Yeah, pretty. It's funny because I looked at the tournament when it was about like top 32 or something, and then I was looking at the results there, and then I'm looking there, and then Dion's like, I was sitting next to Dion, and then Dion's like, "Is there anyone there like that's really good?" I'm like, no, not really. I'm like looking at the top 32. I'm like, I can bet you anything it's gonna be like a Trungi Shadow 20Z grand final, and then like just left it at that. And then like the next day he sends me a message because he was watching it while waiting for his flight at the airport. He's like, "You're all right. It's Shadow 20Z versus Trungi in the grand final." I'm like, "Oh yeah, kind of expected there. I figured they'll be there." Joey Fury, I don't know. He's been playing a bit inconsistent lately. I feel he's just trying different characters. He was playing Marduk as well, alongside with his usual Jack with the side of Paul. So I don't know. I mean, Tekken World Tour kicks off pretty soon next month, so I can't wait for that.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that next because that's going to be that's huge. Soul Calibur 5, third place Party Wolf, second place Klob, first place Lolo MX. I didn't watch a single second of it. I don't know.
I don't know anyway. All I know is I love Saltface and he came 9th, so I'm upset.
Hell yeah. Well, I mean, not whatever. F for respect.
Yeah, okay. Saltface, awesome.
Dragon Ball Fighters, Nippon number 1, third place Dogura, second place Kazunoko, first place Goichi, taking his first win in God knows how long.
I'm sorry, his name is Go1. Can you please pronounce it right?
Sorry, is that how you Earthlings say it? Oh, Go1.
Enough of your moon speak. So, just real quick on Dragon Ball Fighters, when it was like, so top 8 was 4 Japanese in winners and 4 Americans in losers, and then I'm just looking at the top 8 going, I don't know, like, I think Japan, like that's it, they claimed the game again. And I was watching top 8 with Abby actually on Sunday night in Tasmania, and then Abby's like, bruh, if like, what was it? He's like, I think it was like top 5. It's like as soon as Dogura beat Sonic Fox or they were playing or something like that, he's like, bro, this is about to be Japan's game again. Like they're about to claim it. And then sure as hell it happened, and top 3 were all Japanese. So yeah, Japan is once again back up on top. And the cool thing is, Goichi was using the unblockable setup on Snap. So for those that don't know, in Dragon Ball Fighters, they discovered this thing about a week, 2 weeks ago, a week or very recent, 2 weeks max, where on when you snap a character, you can on you can time your meteor on incoming, and then you can trick the game to the game think that you're blocking low, like you're grounded, but you're still not blocking low, even though if you're holding back, and then you do an overhead on, like you have like 2 frames gap or something. I don't know, it's really tight, and then it becomes an unblockable because even though if you're holding back, the game thinks you're grounded, but you're still airborne. It's really weird. So essentially, Goichi was the only person doing that. And because the meta at the moment is still a very snap heavy meta, and he plays a Piccolo team, which is, relies a lot on snap, which is, the meta. He plays the best Piccolo team in the game. So yeah, he ran that, and he was just snapping people, hitting them with the unblockable and cashing in with all these W's. So really interesting to see what Namco's going to do with that, if they're going to balance the game or if they're going to get rid of the unblockable or just keep it. But yeah, just
are there any like guaranteed ways out of it, or is it literally just you got to hold it?
Nope.
So no one's found anything yet. Okay, that's
no
cool.
one is. It's not from what I know, not every character can do it because you need like a certain, like you need to kill some frames before, and you need a long air block string. So you need to do a lot of things in the air, and then finally you do an overhead while they're grounded but not grounded, and that's how you trick the game into making them think they're holding them back instead of back. So yeah, it's interesting.
My takeaway from the top 8 was the clip of Tachikawa versus Sonic Fox. Did you see that one? The
Yes.
handshake fake out. That was sick, and then he beat him too. That was sick.
Oh no, sorry, I didn't see that. I saw the bit where Dogura beat Sonic Fox, and then Sonic Fox paused the game and went back to the main menu. Sorry, went back to character select before the game finished. Yeah. Oof, that's salt.
Yeah, look, this game is I mean, the Japan rampage is real, but like it's healthy. That top 8 of the names you'd expect to see, just not necessarily in that order. With the season just starting, like it's interesting to see where this game goes now that the game is finally getting busted open. Some might say busted open, some might say interesting. Half empty, half full. You know what I mean? But
and Kid Goku got announced.
Oh, cool!
Is
Wait,
DLC.
Goku's in the game? Yo!
Yeah. Oh shit!
Yo.
Yeah. Who would have guessed it? Yeah, Kid Goku from I think GT. I haven't watched GT, but yeah, he's got the pole and everything.
Anything special about that character?
He has a Super Kamehameha, and they say if you have 2 characters or less on your team, he goes into Super Saiyan 3 before he does it. But I don't know what happens if you have more characters dead. And he has a reverse Kamehameha, which I don't know what that is. And apparently he has a secret level 3, which no one knows what it is as well. Oh, and he has a Spirit Bomb as well.
Ooh.
So, but I don't know how useful that is. But yeah, we'll see.
Hectic. Yeah, there were teams. Oh, there was Cross Tag. I didn't watch that top 8. Third place, what's that? Elyon. Second place, Scrot Vermilion. First place, Flux. Yo, Flux.
Big butt Flux.
Yeah,
I like Flux. He seems like a cool.
Mad. And when you watch the top players, man, like they're just really good about distilling the game into like there is neutral in that game. It's just hard to find it sometimes. But yeah, shout outs to Flux. He's been championing that game hard. Yeah, I don't know. There are other stuff.
I don't think the rest are worth mentioning.
I want to get into other things. So, yeah, no Street Fighter V announcement, and this is a big deal because we don't know anything what's happening with Season 4. The game is it's not stale, like it's in a good spot. But
the new season is still kind of newish, but I don't know. I think people are too thirsty for announcements.
Well, what it was is that I don't know if last season, but it's happened before where they've done a patch prior to the season starting, like in December, and they've let it run for 3 months and then taken that data and then done like a little tweak patch. So we were expecting all right, the season 4 is good, but like Rashid Ibuki, they're still a bit strong, so maybe we'll tone them down a bit. But there was radio silence, so everyone's a bit like, all right, well, what's going on this year? Like, what are you guys doing? And I guess if they have nothing, they have to say nothing. You know what I mean? But it's just as people still don't know whether or not to buy Kage because they haven't said anything about what the hell they're doing this year or what they're not doing this year.
It's like, what do you want them to say? Come and say, hey guys, we have nothing to say. Thank you for supporting us.
But like yes, it's like we want like that would be better because it's that would drive people to buy the stages Kage. Like at least people know. Like if you have tournament players who are looking at characters like Ibuki and Rashid and going, I'm going to pick that character up, but what if they get nerfed at the beginning of the season? Like that's kind of garbage.
I think from memory, last year there was a patch around this time.
Yeah, there was
around the March. March. No, I don't know. Like the next big event is what, Combo Breaker? Maybe I can't think of it, but that's in like 2 months. So that's a long time to say nothing about the game. So I honestly don't know what Capcom is thinking. Like we were talking about it today. You saw in the dojo chat, and like BK was genuinely disappointed because no announcement. And there was that video of Mena Adi just honestly about to cry. I'm not the biggest fan of Mena, but like I feel bad seeing a top player who's done so much for his community, who's like traveling, supporting, and then like genuinely like he's got like genuine faith in a company that he supports and holds dear in his heart that they're gonna do right by him, and then he just gets let down so hard, so hard. You know what I mean? And he's still nah, son. It's happening. I saw like a weird light in the top right screen. Blah blah blah. Something's gonna happen. Like, come on, Capcom. Like, you're fucking better than that, man. Do right by the community. Do right by the players. Jesus Christ.
I mean, there is a way. There is a way they could have spun it. Like, I wasn't expecting anything, but I was expecting. I wanted to know. Like, when they had that stupid DLC with the Alpha 2 stage, whatever. That's nice. You can buy it with fight money. They could have phrased it like, "And this is what you're getting this year." So at least we know. That's better to me than having like this uncertainty and being like, oh, well, what the hell's happening this year? Like, because they've changed it year to year. It hasn't been consistent. And for them to, again, not tell us up front is what's frustrating the most people. Like, it's not that we want new things. We just want to know what's going on. Well, I don't want new things. I don't know.
Correct. I mean, some people in the chat are saying Street Fighter 6. I think too early.
I reckon it'll be announced next year. Or it could be announced this year.
I reckon it will be announced maybe at Capcom Cup Finals this year.
I could see it.
Or maybe even like next year, because again, like they're on record saying they're gonna support Street Fighter 5 till 2020. So we are in 2019 now. So I don't know. Do the maths. Like I don't think we'll be hearing anything SF6 before end of this year at the very least, because if they do announce it now, then all hype will fucking kind of like die around SF5 because everyone will be looking forward to SF6. So I don't think it's a good time for them to announce SF6 at the moment. I mean, personally, I think the next Street Fighter game, I don't know if it's going to be SF6 or what.
Yeah. But like whatever. The game is in a good spot if you like it. Like honestly, if you like the game, it's in a pretty good spot. Like the top tier, I mean, it's looking like another up forward heavy meta, unfortunately. But it is what it is, and it's in the best spot it's ever been. So that's good.
Actually, I agree with Petra. Probably with next gen console release. Yeah, I agree with that as well. Yeah, they're gonna wait for next gen consoles and then they'll announce SF6. I'm pretty sure.
Sweet. All right. Let's talk about the Tekken World Tour stuff because I know you'll have some thoughts.
You shut your mouth, Ghost Chips.
So
you shut your goddamn mouth.
Street Fighter Cross Tekken 2. I'd be down for that. All right, let's talk about Tekken World Tour because it's in a pretty good spot this year, and I think you have some words about it. So let's talk.
Let us talk once again about how Bam Goat smashes it out of the gate. How great is Bam Goat? How great is Bam Goat? Jonathan.
I like what they did this year, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to let you have the floor, but you know what? The thing about the Tekken World Tour rules this year is that they went, yeah, it's complicated. You'll figure it out, but it's like it's community-centered in mind. It's complicated, but it's community-centered, and I'm like big thumbs up on that.
Yeah. So the biggest and bestest thing about the new Tekken World Tour is the fact that Namco essentially said, fuck online. You want to get these extra points? Go out and support your fucking local. So they added a new tier of ranking for which is locked to regions, and it's called Dojo ranking. So you still have your master events, and you still have your ranking events. and now you have dojo events, and you get points by going to locals. And the more people enter your local, the more points you can get. There's a T for 16 entrants. You need minimum 16 people. So that's the lowest T. Then 32, that's the second low. Then 64, which is the second highest, and then the highest is 96 or above. So if you get more than 96 entrants or above, you get almost as much as a challenger event. So so that's happening.
Which is
And
bonkers. Can we shouldn't gloss over that. Having
Yeah, yeah.
a dojo event the same amount of points as a challenger event, or in
It's
a
not the
ballpark.
same. It's 50 points less.
That's crazy.
That's bonkers. So to break it down, they also added one standalone event. So for those that don't remember, last year Eva wasn't part of the Tekken World Tour. This year, it's part of the Tekken World Tour, and it's a Master Plus event. Also, the only Master Plus event. And if you win that, you get 500 points or 500 points. Yeah, around either 500 or 550 points, which is a lot of points. It's the only Master Plus event. Then you got the Master events, which is about 12 or 13. And then you get 300 points for that if you win it. And then you have the Challenger events, which there's another 12 or 13. And you get 150 points for that. And then you got the Dojo events. And if you have a Dojo event with 96 entrants or more, you get 100 points, which is 50 less than a Challenger. So yeah, like so for example, like, you know, let's not tiptoe around the bush here. So for people that saw, like, I just say it straight out, for people that saw, so OHN isn't on the Tekken World Tour. It's not a master event, it's not a challenger event, but we are going to be a dojo event, and we are definitely going to get 96 people. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be a massive boost for Australian and New Zealand players to come to OHN and try to, you know, gun for that 100 points with no international competition. So that's something to look forward to if you're, you know, someone in the Australian or New Zealand region and wants to get, you know, these 100 points. So that's one thing to keep in mind. So something like that works out great. Plus as well, you got your monthlies all around Australia, like your YSBs, your Melbourne Rambats, your Queensland Rambats, and so on and so forth. They're more than eligible for, you know, to be part of the dojo, like a dojo, they're more than eligible to be a dojo event. So please apply. They're not getting to all events straight away. They're kind of looking at them at like a monthly basis after like a bunch of applications come through. You know, they look at it. So all TOs around Australia and New Zealand, apply for your monthly events. So let's get these points happening. And another good thing that's worth noting is they regardless of who you are and how many events enter, at the end of it, at the end of the tour, your 10 best results will be correlated and given points to your name. So what that means, if you say you attended 4 master events, but in one of them you did really shit, that will take your 3 best master events. And then the way the points breakdown is they take your 10 best events, and it's breaking down into 3 master events, 3 challenger events, and 4 dojos. And I would like to emphasize the last point, 4 fucking dojos. So go out and fucking support your local and get some fucking points. Thank you so much. So yeah, support your locals.
That is such a like it's not, you know, that's the type of thing that's not gonna, like, it might get some new Tekken heads, but like that is such a community, like they're all such smart community decisions. It emphasizes going to locals. It discourages people, you know, over traveling. Like, it doesn't reward people necessarily for just traveling for the sake of traveling. Like, every part of that is such a positive step. And the prize money as well. That's another huge part of it.
How did I forget that? So, you know, after last year's 7,500 payout to rank you, so this year, the Tekken, the TWD finals have $100,000 payout for the finals. So first place is, I think they said he will be taking something like 30 grand US, which is not Capcom money, but it's like 4 times more last year's payout. So that's good to see. And also it's going to be in Thailand. So that's really, really interesting to see. A lot of the boys already thinking of going just to, you know, check it out. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to be hella biased, but Namco really knows how to do things right, man. Like, when was the last time Namco made an announcement and you were like, oh, is that it? Or, like, they're always good. So I'm really, really, as a Tekken player, I'm so excited and happy that uh, this year's looking up to be really interesting. For example, Kokoma, he was contemplating last year not playing this year. Now he's coming back and he wants to play. He even, for the first time ever, said he's actually looking for a sponsor, which is something for the last 2 years. He's been someone who does consistently well, but doesn't have a sponsor. So he's motivated again. I know Saint and JDC are also looking to be sponsored, which again, I don't know how the fuck they're not sponsored. Two players of their caliber. So yeah, it's Book, who's also saying he might take the year off. He's definitely not taking the year off. He said he wants to come out and practice again, especially because now the finals are in his home country. So like we say every year, but fuck me dead, man. This year's gonna be a great year for Tekken. It's plain and simple.
No, it's no surprise. Like the second Harada announced that he was taking over all the esports side of things in the Bamco front, I was like, all right, well, that's it. It's sorted. Like I think everyone knew that, and you even saw it this weekend. You see the Chinese event that went down. How it had like 2 out of 3, and then Harada stepped in and he fixed it. Like
it's like I told them more than 80 times.
It's mad. It's just it's good that like that is what every company. If you want an esports division, that's how you got to do it. You got to listen to your community, but also have the balls to like take the steps and sort that out. But holy shit, that was funny. Good stuff around. Good stuff, Tekken. Like that's just good. Positive all around.
Yeah.
All right, well, we got about 10 minutes before I'm going to get Dom on. So why don't we run through Tassie FighterCon? Like, I don't know if you have the results up or do you want me to just run through them real quick and then you can talk about it?
Sure thing.
Alrighty. So, looking at the results. So, oh, Jesus. How do I make this go? You know what? You start talking, I'll get the results up.
Talking about Tassie?
Yep.
Well, like I said, man, it was a great event. Hobart is small. So also for anyone who's ever thinking of going Hobart, it's really small, the city. So I've never had to walk more than like 10, 15 minutes max to get anywhere. Everything is really central. Prices are cheaper than than everywhere else. Sorry. Everyone's super friendly. A lot of white people. No Arabs, unfortunately. I didn't see a single Arab there. So I don't know what's up with that, but that's fine. I don't mind. So, just, come out and support. Tassie, they're going to be running next year as well. I know Perth will be running again this year, so look out for Perth. Expand Gong. Fuck, please come out to Expand Gong. Again, if you have any questions or need any help, even if you're an interstater or someone who might be interested, get him to hit me up on Facebook or Twitter. But I'm happy to help with anything. Are you good, Jonno?
I got the results. So we're gonna go because there's no individual that does write-ups in a timely and great format anymore. So I'm just going to run through the winners as listed on Smash GG. So Tekken 7 was won by Dion. Soul Calibur 6 was run by Runus. Old Smash Ultimate was won by Luma. Dragon Ball Fighters and Uniest was won by Falco. Couch
and
Warriors,
Street Fighter.
Ajavi. And Street Fighter. Damn. Yeah. Couch Warriors, Javi won Cross Tag, the GOAT. Microsoft J won Melee Singles. Audacity won GG Rev. Yo, shout outs to Jack. And then, Central Fiction was won by Runus.
Motherfucker.
Yeah. God, what else? Million Arthur was there. That was won by Javi. There were some other DIY and doubles events, but they're the main ones, and that's good stuff. Was that archived anywhere? I know they have their own Twitch channel.
Yes, they streamed it, and Mullet Cap told me that they're recording everything locally, and they'll be uploading it sometime in the future.
Okay.
So yeah,
we'll
it was definitely recorded
or something at some point down the line. That's cool. So what's Dom saying? Yeah, he's okay. Dom's almost ready. So we've sort of covered everything we need to talk about with Expand Gong, but I'll quickly run through it one more time. It's on Smash GG if you want to get the info for that. There's a whole bunch of Smash stuff. There's Melee, PM, and Smash Ultimate, Tekken 7, DBZ, SF5, Younes, Central Fiction, Ultra Street Fighter 4, Million Arthur, Soul Calibur 6. You can register up until the 30th, which gives you like a week and a half. $50 will get you in, plus 10 for every event. You can find it probably on Facebook, or Smash GG's got it.
Expand Gong.
Expand Gong.
Yeah. You can find the info on Facebook and Smash GG.
Sweet. I think that's everything in terms we have for news this week. Maybe like we will.
Also, I just want to say MK11 is looking.
Talk about that.
Yeah, it's looking dope. I may or may not have hands on the game in 2 days.
Was that right, huh?
So looking forward to that. The game is looking hella sweet. They really moved away from 50-50 heavy gameplay, and it's all about footsies at the moment. So looking forward to see how that develops. And the thing is with NRS games, man, like I know everyone, like the NRS scene is like really looking forward to the new game, but I feel they're really, I don't know, the NRS scene is really weird, man. Like they want something, but then they get bored with it really quickly. So I really hope this time they kind of just stick with the game, because it's like NRS seems to be going out of their way to really make this game last more than the cursed, 24-month cycle for any NRS game. So, I really hope the NRS scene responds well to it and responds well to the efforts of NRS. The game isn't without its faults, of course. I've been reading some stuff that players want tweaked, and again, this is like a stress test, and the beta is coming out in about a week and a half, and that's already said that has gameplay changes then, and which of course gonna probably be different than the final build. So yeah, just if you're an NRS player or know someone who's looking forward to the MK game, by all means, please don't support the game for a month and then drop it. Just stick with the game, stick with the scene. The scene is amazing. Like they're all just homies essentially. And yeah, the game's looking sweet. Baraka's looking OP, so he's gonna get nerfed week 1. That's my boy, by the way. So yeah, great game.
All right. I reckon it's probably a good time to get Dom on. So now we're going to move into our our guest for the for today's episode is the man, the myth, the legend behind Melbourne Melee. He is, I would say, Australia's biggest Smash streamer, if not one of just the biggest event streamers. Period.
He's the god.
Yeah. And we're going to get him on to talk about what he does with Melbourne Melee, the state of the scene as a whole, and some really cool stuff that, even if you don't follow Melee, that the scene is doing. Like, there's a tool called Slippy we're going to talk about, which has some really cool stuff in regards to finding tech and replays, but we'll get Dom to talk about that. So
let me grab a bottle of water. I'll be back in a second.
All right. I'm going to turn my webcam on. Can we do this? How are we going to do this? Ready? It's the production minute. Watch this. Check it out. Boom. Where am I? Where is it? Turn me on. All right. Didn't work. What a jerk. Integrated webcam.
Also, seriously, how great is BKB?
BKB is pretty good.
How great is BKB? Like, once again, we can never shield BKB enough. For those that don't know, or now you're about to know, and for those that know, please.
Rip, he went.
BKB, which stands for Battle Cat Bunker, is a FGC offline store in Sydney, and it is run by a lovely gentleman by the name of Stefan.
Here we are.
Hi, Dom. I'm just shielding BKB. Give me 1 second.
Okay, please. It's very important. Go ahead.
You're looking as wholesome as ever, by the way.
Thanks, buddy.
It is in Maryland, 100 meters away from the station. Free parking after 6 p.m. Monday to Friday. Free parking all weekend. A lot of ethnic food around, which is cheap because it's not in the city. A lot of consoles, a few PCs, as you can see behind me. If you ever want to come out and support, join the Oz Hadu Discord or search for Battle Cat Bunker. The cat is with a K on Facebook. And yeah, come out. We'd love to have you. So yeah. Hello, Dom.
Hello, how's it going?
How are we doing, my man? We're doing good.
Yeah, good.
Introduce yourself, Dom, and Youssef, turn your monitor down. We can hear some echo real quick, if you can.
Really? Wait, can you... Me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me twice, or can you hear yourselves again?
I can hear you twice, but I think we're cool.
Okay, that's not me then.
Yeah, no.
Unless
what do
you want me to do?
I don't know. Sorry.
But yeah,
never mind. How you doing, Dom? Introduce yourself.
Good. I'm Dom Hynes. Part of Couch Warriors and Melbourne Melee. Streamer man. Been a part of the Melbourne FGC for 5 years or something now at this point. Yeah, been streaming, mostly streaming and organizing Melee stuff, as well as being involved with the organization of BAM and City of Melee. Yeah, as well as I've been flying up to Sydney to stream Melee, because apparently none of you guys can do it.
Whoa.
Every couple of years. Hey,
whoa.
Whoa.
You guys, I'm sorry, what kind of language is that? Sir, I just called you wholesome like 60 seconds ago.
I thought that was how we did it in the FGC. I thought you guys had rougher banter. I'm sorry, that must have been a miscommunication.
Part of being wholesome is you got to know. You got to hear the unwholesome, the not so good side of things. That's why it's.
That's the thing. It's because you guys are friends. It's because we're all family. That's why we can talk like this.
We could take it just as much as we can dish it. It's only right.
Of course.
So the reason why we wanted to get Dom on today was just to talk about all right, the real talk. The reason why I wanted Dom on today was because in a sea of shitty takes of merely not being at Evo, Dom by far was I'm just a reasonable person enjoying my game, and I'm like, well, I want to talk to you more, man.
Yeah, that's fair.
So go.
Sorry, no, you. Yeah, so Melee not being at Evo, it sucks. Melee is sort of famous for being a game that it performs when it's put on a stage. So Melee, more than a lot of other games, is missing out on this really big opportunity. Melee at Evo is a hype game. Melee, every Genesis has been incredible. So it's missing out on a lot of exposure from being at Evo, the Super Bowl of fighting games or whatever. Because that would be a lot of extra eyes on the game and growth of the scene and exposure for the players and the sponsors for the teams and stuff. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure of all the games that would have been in contention, Melee also it loses the least, if you know what I mean. Because Melee, I feel like the Melee scene, more than maybe Ultimate to an extent, as well as probably a lot of the rest of the FGC, is the more self-sufficient. There's grassroots efforts for every fighting game at every level across the world. But I feel like Melee, more than any of them, is just sort of it's like the cockroach. It will never die. But it will also, there's always going to be weeklies. The Couch Warriors ran bad. There's always going to be BKB, and there's always going to be Genesises. There's always going to be tournaments of all these different sizes. So not be of all the games to not be at Evo, Melee probably it's probably going to be the most fine, and obviously it's giving exposure and opportunities to games like Youssef that have these players have been putting in the time, they've been running their tournaments, they've been showing up, and that's a huge opportunity for exposure. And out of Melee missing out, meaning those games get to have their time to shine, is really, really cool for those games, and Melee is probably going to suffer the least from that. But then on the flip side, Melee also it shows goddamn up every single time. It's big, it's exciting. So it's also missing out quite a lot at the same time.
Yeah, see, that's one thing I said on the last episode, actually, of IDEP, where the fact is, I didn't use the cockroach reference, which is fucking genius.
It's not one I bust out a lot, but it's fitting.
But I essentially echoed your sentiments in the fact that I was like, if Melee was gonna die, I would have died a long fucking time ago.
Yeah, and it's not gonna be Evo dropping it. That's gonna kill it.
It's not gonna be at Evo. That is most definitely not the end of Melee. They're very self-sustained, more than any game that is on any tournament. and
Yes.
they still have a lot of super majors. You know, like you said, like your Genesis and like your Summit, or I don't know, wait, they're not Summit, like your Genesis and other
Yeah,
tournaments.
the Smash Summit. We
there
had
is
the first Ultimate one, but there's been like 6 Melee ones.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm like, all right, yeah, it's a loss, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm like, Melee, like, I reckon this time next year, it's just not. I don't think it's going to be an issue. It's going to be like, oh, we're not Eva anymore. Big whoop. We're just doing. I don't think we're still fine. We're still bigger than ever. People are still going to be complaining about Hungry Box's fucking Jigglypuff, and it's going to be the same.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, like from a logical point of view, I think, like you said, it kind of makes sense. It's just a matter of when, and it's happened to be this year. And in a way, I'm personally happy because like last Eva winner was Leffen. So I'm like, yeah, I guess, because I like Leffen, he's cool. So
Leffen is cool.
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I think it was a hard decision to make, but the right decision.
Yeah, I'd agree with that for sure.
But I guess one of the reasons why, not probably like apart from the fact the hardware is nightmarish and all that side of things in regards to Melee,
Maybe
the crossover between Melee players and other games is like weirdly low. Is there any reason why Melee players just play Melee?
Dreadtech plays Tekken.
So, there's a couple. Okay, so there's a couple layers to this. There's a couple sort of different like useful lenses through which we can analyze this situation. Lens number one is Melee players like good games.
Whoa!
That is just one of many lenses we can potentially, which is why
I would like to retract my wholesome statement. Yeah, I'm definitely not wholesome, sir.
Which is why we see players like Dread, who started out with, I think, technically Project M, like me, but it was you could call him some semblance of a Melee player for a time. He plays Tekken, he plays Dragon Ball. There is a bit of crossover, like locally, but then I have a feeling the crossover is low, but it's the same thing with like Ultimate at the same time. Like I feel like that's a Smash thing, and in the same way, how many people do you know that identify as, like, for example, Tekken players or Street Fighter, whoever's still playing Street Fighter 5? How many of those people do you think? Yeah, which is like, if God bless you, like that's sick. You found a game you like and you're sticking with it. As a Melee player, I respect that. That's awesome. How many, like, I know, Gamera, you personally play like a little bit of Melee and a bit of Ultimate and stuff, but do you think you guys cross over much either, or much of your communities? Like maybe you probably, everyone gave Ultimate a shot when it came out. We were all day one on that Wi-Fi finding out how bad it was. But I feel like it's sort of like a two-way thing where it's a philosophical divide between the games, that they're very different. And they don't necessarily transfer that much in terms of, like, there's fighting game overlap, but I feel like the as well as the aesthetic of the scenes attract very different kinds of people.
I can speak to that because, like, for those that don't know, like the whole reason that we got Smash at YSB was because this idiot, me, got like really swept up in the documentary hype and sort of like reached out to the City Smash community at the time. So like I have a bit of insight into both. Speaking, like, going from, say, like the fighting game side to something like Ultimate is different, but it is like significantly less impenetrable than something like Melee. So if you flip that the other way, right, Melee is impenetrable. Why can't like you can pick up another game like Leffen and Body, like, no problem. Like, you guys are used to arbitrary garbage. What if you played something that was like built up, to sort of like scratch that competitive itch? Not to say that like Melee, like that's not a quality judgment on Melee. I'm saying like there are so many fewer hurdles for you guys to play a competitive game than it is to play something like Melee.
Yeah, like yes and no. Like you'll find that like the Melee scene trends to be like, it trends between the ages of maybe 16 to 24, 25. At least that's the case in Vic. And most people that age, even if they're the old in the family, there's probably a Wii in the house. Nobody owns Melee discs anymore, by the way. And you probably have a CRT somewhere if you're still with your parents, which you probably do if you're a Smasher. Or like literally like whenever it's hard waste collection, literally just walk around your neighborhood. Like I've picked up like, I don't even know how many TVs, and then eventually given them to friends or people new to the scene or whatever. And like people still regularly, I'm sure you see them in the Facebook groups, people finding CRTs and just posting a photo in the group being, there's a CRT on this corner if you want one. Like, and then you need, like, to get into the game, you don't actually need a good GameCube controller. You'll probably need it maybe 2 years in, but you don't need one to get started. Like, I understand it's still significantly harder than like having a TV and a PS4 because you probably have those things. You just need to buy Tekken and you can start playing. You can get into Tekken and then start taking it seriously. But as well as the actual way people get into Melee now is not with CRTs. Everyone just plays net play and Dolphin 100%. In the same way that like actually has a very like similar pull in as stuff like League or like a free to play game is probably a closer model, which is one of the reasons Nintendo can't really monetize the game.
Can you sorry, for the uneducated like myself, explain what Dolphin is? Because and I know Jonno
sure.
and you just mentioned it, but I don't know what it is. So
Dolphin is a emulator for Wii and GameCube games. It's really good, and it turns out they worked on it for a really long time, and it got to the point where you can play GameCube games on like relatively low spec machines, especially in our Lord's year 2019. And as well as over the last couple of years in particular, there's been a lot of efforts towards improving the net play infrastructure, or basically just the code in Dolphin, which just enables you to connect to another player and then both play. Like, it synchronizes your games and it adds a slight delay so that it has time for the other person's inputs. So you can usually play with just like a cool little technical aside. One of the many technical magics of Melee, and we'll touch on some other ones later. There's been a bunch of like hacking and improvements and optimizations to Dolphin and the way it runs Melee to actually make it run faster than the original console, like with less input latency. So then you can build in tolerance for the network input latency. So if you're on fast internet and you have like a high spec fighting game esports monitor, you can actually play with the same amount of input latency as a CRT. So you can play, if you have good internet, which is not many people in this hemisphere, you can play Melee the same as a CRT, like the same as a CRT, as opposed to like a lot of other fighting games nowadays where they're just like, well, let's build 4 frames of lag into the game so it's the same as netplay. Netplay has gotten to the point where it's the same as a cathode ray tube television. But yeah, impressive. So yeah, it's very bad, but it's also very good. It's very much netplay is junk food. It is absolutely like, I'm going to sit here and literally shove Pringles in my mouth and then get really mad about the Samus Crouch Council down smashing me. Oh man, getting wobbled at netplay has made me want to stop playing Melee. But so yeah, netplay is one of the has been the primary ingest points for Melee players over the last couple of years because it's free, because it's sort of pirating the game. That was made almost 20 years ago. But all you need is a GameCube controller and the adapter they sold with the Wii U, or the adapter they sold with the Switch for Ultimate, because they're the same thing. That's it. That's all you need. And then you just need like the same sort of computer that's going to play Dota or LoL or any of those like pretty low spec games. And you can just play Melee online. And in America, they have Smash Ladder, which is this huge ranking and ELO system where you just play Melee online, and they facilitate chat and rankings and leaderboards and all this other stuff. I've actually got one in Australia now that is like Australia specific, made by an Australian dude. But yeah, Netplay's great.
Netplay seems like it's been the thing. Like the first big boom was the documentary, obviously, and then once that sort of died, it seems like now it's the rise of the Netplay, and we're sort of in that era of Melee, it seems.
Yeah, there's definitely been a bunch of people, like even just like anecdotally, locally. Oh, that's my cat in the background. I can totally see her climbing to frame in the corner. There's been an abundance of players that have come from Netplay, and there's definitely people who I've seen play Netplay for upwards of a year and never rock up to a tournament, which is good and bad. A lot of them have, like a couple of the people I know, like live very far away. Yeah, it's not good, but it's a huge like ingest for players to get into Melee, as well as it's just a really easy way to get into the game, because you probably have a GameCube controller somewhere, and there's a pretty good chance that you have one of these USB adapters if you've ever cared about Smash.
Cool. So a lot of the things we're going to talk about today are like how, like, Melee is the definition of grassroots, right? Like every innovation that has come when the Melee scene has come from the community, because Nintendo wants you guys dead, but you guys are cockroaches and won't die, right? So we've already established that. And like obviously the positive side of that. There's one topic I want to talk about, because I think this really represents sort of the difference in mindset almost between like more traditional fighters and Melee, and it was something you were talking about before in regards to wobbling and sort of the divide on the community in regards to banning that, because like the traditional FGC mindset is it's in the game, let it rock. But it's in the game where
Yeah, but at the same time,
20-minute point attack games. You know what I mean? Like it's a completely different
Yeah.
thing. So
We don't let everything rock. Well, I mean, we let
Yeah.
most things rock within reason.
yeah,
I want you to look me in the eyes and tell me in the last 48 hours you haven't thought to yourself, "Nah, I'll block that. This is bullshit. Game's wrong." Like,
that's like the end game. That's what I want in a game. Like, I want to show and tell a bullshit. I want Marvel 3 where every tournament's like, all right, who's going to rob? Like, how are they going to rob this bank? The bank is a tournament, and every tournament, someone comes and just robs it in a new way. Like, that's what I hang out for. You know what
that's
I mean?
cool. I'm about that.
But talk a little about the wobbling debate and sort of both sides of the argument. Actually, talk about what wobbling is,
So-
because people don't know what the hell that is.
So, she's totally just there.
That's fine. You can leave the cat. It's cool.
That's good. No, her name's Ludens. She's great. So
What's her
wobbling
name?
is Ludens. It's the name of the mascot of the Hideo Kojima's new studio. It's the astronaut person. It's called Ludens. That wasn't me. That was my girlfriend's idea. She's a big nerd. Love it a bit. Wobbling. There's a character in Melee and sorry, my monitor just blinked out for a second there. In Melee and Ultimate called Ice Climbers. Ice Climbers is unique in that it's 2 characters in one, and the other one follows on a slight delay. So as the main little character, you directly control the main character, and then the second character follows around, called Nana and Popo. They're from the NES game Ice Climber. So as you move around and do attacks, Nana does the exact same thing. I think it's 6 frames later in Melee, and I'm not sure about Brawl and Ultimate. Fun little thing in Melee wherein under the right circumstances, not 100% of the time like a lot of people think, as Popo, like the lead ice climber, if you grab someone, every character has the ability to, once they're in the grab state, they can just like what's called pummel the opponent. So you can grab and then you can hit them for a couple %. And then there's always this timer ticking down of they're about like when they'll be able to bust out of the grab, and then you lose the ability to throw them or whatever. They just sort of pop out. And then, like, you lose the advantage you had of getting the grab. So usually you don't want that to happen. But they only pop out if they return back to the neutral grab state, which doesn't happen if you hit them and then Nana hits them and then you hit them again. It's basically a stun lock in a grab. It's not extremely difficult to execute, but it's not the easiest thing in the world. It's basically just pressing the A button at 200 BPM with relatively generous leniency on that. It's not like frame perfect. And then so what this does is it just racks up damage over 30 seconds or whatever, however long you wobble for. And then you can do any of your throws as the lead ice climber. And then while he's throwing, you input a smash attack. And what that does is it makes Nana input a smash attack. And if you time that correctly, she'll be able to frame perfectly hit them on the release. So it's literally just like, but if executed correctly from the grab, it's 100%, they will die. You have killed them now from the grab. So that's a bit divisive, as you might be able to imagine. Melee is, every Smash game, except for 64 to an extent, these games are unique and different from every other fighting game in that neutral does end when you hit someone, but they're not just out for the count now. Like a lot of the time again, bear my caveman understanding of 2D fighters and traditional fighters in general. Generally, if someone gets a hit, they're guaranteed a certain amount of hits depending on the matchup and whatever. And then there are games that have reversal options or they have the ability to break out of stuff. But most of the time, you have your string, and now you're going to press your buttons, and that's guaranteed. Melee has a couple systems in which you can influence your the direction that you like. You can slightly adjust the angle that you launch when you get hit. You can shuffle around a little bit when you get hit, like in hit stun. Like imagine if when you get hit, if you were able to basically with like a parry timing, you were able to pop back a bit. So you could pop a bump out of a punish, or you could move through the person. It's not that easy, and it's not a huge amount of distance, but it's often enough to get out of a punish. So Melee has this huge focus on even when you're being punished, you're still in the game. You're still actively involved. There's no in Marvel, you start getting hit and then you pull out your phone and check Twitter. You are actively you don't take a selfie. You are still in it. You are still the conversation of the game is still happening. And that's a thing that happens when you're playing against a lot of top players that don't happen, like that doesn't happen against lower level players, is you'll go for something like, this always works. And then it just doesn't work on them because their DI, which is that ability to like sort of like influence your trajectory out on attack or through a combination of other techniques, they have the ability to not be punished by things other players are punished by off of your hit confirm or whatever. So this game hugely rewards your ability to be an expert in both of those systems. Wobbling comes very close to just making that a non-issue because, again, it's not 100% of a grab. It relies on a bunch of really weird, or not weird, but just positioning of Nana and Popo, what state they're both in, that sort of thing. But it's an anomaly in Melee in that it's from relatively basically any percent. If you get a grab, that person's going to die, which I feel like as not Melee players, like as a focus, both of you, I'm sure that sounds pretty weird.
Yeah, like to sort of picture it from the perspective of a fighting game player, right? So a game of Melee has 4 stocks, right? So you're assuming like, okay, you get grabbed, that's the end of your stock. Okay, you get grabbed, you lose 25% of your life. That's like standard. Yeah. That's to hear that from our perspective, it's like that's not that big of a deal. And then you kind of, I guess one thing we haven't really touched on is like getting that grab can be incredibly difficult sometimes, right? Like they are an asterisk of a character.
Yes.
Right?
So again, this is another weird little thing. I'll try not to get like hyper over involved in the exact mechanics of this, but so Melee has somewhat infamously L canceling, which is when you're about to hit the ground, there's a 7-frame window where you can press either of the triggers, and the lag you go through when you hit the ground is halved. And I think it rounds down by the frame as well. So it's pretty good. Like imagine if you had like a timing game every time you came down to make something a true block string, and then if you missed, it was not a true block string. Like that'd be like that. It's a constant execution test, but it's also a test of game sense and game understanding, like knowing whether you're about to hit them or not, because the hit lag changes it, that sort of thing. So it's this game of constantly being safe on shield or safe on hit. And the ice climbers, so there's 2 ice climbers running around. If you hit one and then the other on your way down when you're coming to hit the ground, you'll go through twice as much hit lag because you'll hit one and then the other one. So suddenly your muscle memory for being safe on block is like sort of out the window because you have to do that very differently for this one character, which means you're not safe on block more frequently unless you've practiced this specifically, which makes you, and of course there's shield grabbing in this game. So not only do they have a really, really, really effective grab in a lot of situations, they also have a unique mechanic that makes them very hard to be safe on shield against unless you practice for them specifically. As well as if you hit both of their shields or both of them at the same frame, you go through only one set of hit lag, not both. So it can be one or the other, and you have to know which one it's going to be.
Question for the panel.
Yes.
So I don't know much about Melee. I know very little bit.
That's understandable.
All right. So my question is very general. I don't think I need to know a lot about Melee to ask this question. So after I just heard everything that you just told us, my question is, how come no Ice Climber players ever win tournament?
So in 2013, Melee was at Evo, and Mr. Wizard said, what if I said fuck you and just like had my own rules? And this was actually the first tournament in a while that unbanned wobbling. An Ice Climbers player won that tournament.
So
Evo 13 was Wobbles.
So
the man for whom wobbling is named after.
All right. So one event 6 years ago.
Yeah.
That's it.
Obviously, there have been some other tournaments. There's also a weird phenomenon with Ice Climbers players more than a lot of other characters. This could be confirmation bias, but Ice Climbers in particular have this thing where they will suddenly get a crazy good result out of nowhere. There'll be a bunch of good people. They'll be really good for 6 months, and then they'll drop off. I know that sounds really normal, and it happens here or there, but it happens. Shootout was a top 8 of an Evo, which a year on either side of that event happening is the weirdest thing to hear ever, but it happened. That man made it to the stage.
Actually,
sorry, Wobbles got second that year. I just fact checked that. He got second to Mango that year.
Oh right, what am I saying? Yeah, he beat Hungrybox. That's right. He got second, but that's still really good.
It is.
But he didn't win.
Sorry, but like
he beat 1,000 people.
He
didn't win. To quote a great man of our current generation, if you ain't first, you're last. No, I'm kidding. That was
Okay.
Ricky Bobby, by the way.
All right. I have a feeling.
What I'm saying is, like, that actually makes sense. The fact that to me, it makes sense. The fact that you said, like, Ice Climbers players, they either go through a patch where they're doing really, really good or they're doing really, really bad, which kind of goes back to what you're saying, how the character is kind of really polarizing and the way you approach him. So as someone who's using him and as someone who's going against him. So which kind of makes me think it's kind of like they're a very 50-50 character in the way, not like how you play them, but how the results are going to end up being. They're either going to run through someone or you're going to run through them. Again, I don't know, Mealy.
Yeah. That's the thing. There's a lot more context to the game. So Melee as a competitive game was not prescribed. Again, like it is unique in that a competitive scene has built up around it, and the competitive scene has together decided how they think the game should be played. This has involved things like banning stupid stages, which is the thing that exists in. Didn't Tekken Tag Tournament have like a stage that was not used because it lagged and stuff? Like, this is a thing that happens in other games a little bit as well. That's a different argument because it's not a platform fighter. But like these, anyway. So Melee is a game that is very much shaped by the organizers and the scene at the time. So there's already some restrictions around Ice Climbers and specifically wobbling. As it is currently, you're not allowed to wobble past. It depends on the region. I think we usually run with. It's usually either 200% or 300%. You have to have killed them before you reach that percent. Otherwise, it'll count as stalling. Because you could just literally get a lead and then wobble them until the end of the game. And then at that point, that's just like, that is considered degenerate play. Yeah. Oh, well, you could. That's the ultimate play to win, right? But that's considered degenerate play.
That kind of stalling has existed in other games. If you look up the Marvel 2 Dead Body glitch, like stalling a game out when the opponent can literally not do anything, like that type of banning has existed in traditional fighters. But the banning, we're talking about is like banning the technique specifically, which is like the grab and the kill, But that type of time stall banning has existed in like many other fighting games as well. Usually the older ones, which are like broken in the same way that like Melee is.
Yeah,
it's
so
funny.
There's also a weird. Oh, sorry, you go.
So the only thing that comes to mind at the moment where like a technique was banned in a fighting game in Mortal Kombat X, Kung Lao had this thing where if you teleport at like a certain frame or something, you gain an extra bar, just out of nowhere or something like that, and then for like a period.
I heard about that. Yeah,
period of time, like in all tournaments, if you did it more than once. I don't know what it is. You're allowed to do it once. I don't know if you gain the full bar or if like you spend the bar but the bar doesn't come off or something like that. And if you did it more than once, you would automatically lose that match. So, but again, that was just for like a short period of time. But there has been something to that effect where you're just banning a certain specific technique.
Yep. So there's also another technique from the Ice Climbers, which is more something you could more easily classify as a glitch, or it's easier to ban. It's called the freeze glitch. I can't remember the setup details for it at the moment. It involves Nana and grabbing and throwing in states, but you can effectively with the second Ice Climber, you effectively freeze a person and make them unable to move. Like they literally get thrown and then they're just stuck in the air and they're just an active hitbox that is stuck in the being thrown state in a single position. And you look at that and you're like, well, we should probably not allow that in competitive play. That's pretty stupid. So I'm pretty in the middle on wobbling being banned. Like I guess I don't really play Melee that much competitively. I'm not saying I would err on the side of it not being banned, but there's a lot of arguments for and against. I feel like there are well-reasoned arguments against amidst all of the ego and people just parroting what their favorite player said.
Can they run
stuff like Sorry,
go on.
So there are some arguments which may or may not have merit, which is stuff like wobbling. Some people consider it a degenerate play. It's non-interactive, and it drives people away from the game. For example, like if they say, I don't think we should have wobbling in the top 8 of this tournament, which gives the scene exposure, is actively not interesting. Thus, we should ban wobbling to make the game a more exciting spectator sport, which will bring more people into the scene.
Super subjective opinion.
Exactly, yes. Well, that's the thing. I feel like the idea of an argument being objective is probably a hard one to prove. But I agree that one is probably not one that deserves too much merit.
Because I remember when we were in Japan, sorry, not in Japan, EVA one year, me and Wang actually went up to Hungry Box and we were like, dude, we fucking love how lame you play, just pissing everyone off. And he was legit. He was like, who the fuck are these guys? Why are they complimenting me on my puff play? Like,
there's a lot of Hungrybox fans.
Yeah, so he was a bit like, taken. So yeah, like, I mean, I don't know. I just like more so than anything good play. You know what I mean? Like for example, you said wobbling isn't easy to do. Like if you got the execution to do it, that's fine. I mean, obviously you put in the time and effort, and then, you deserve to be rewarded for something like that. But if it was just literally just grab and then mash A, no timing, no whatever, then I'd be like, nah, this is way too easy, way too overpowered. Plus, I'm pretty sure you'll be seeing a lot of Ice Climber players with just winning tournaments way more often because,
I don't know about winning tournaments because that's the thing. A lot of the people who are good at the game and playing it for a while, and they're very specifically good at that matchup. But I think you would find maybe getting... Again, not winning, but I feel like winning isn't necessarily the be-all, end-all. Like, for a long time, Melee's results were only a handful of people, and I would argue that the rule set for the game should not be centralized around just only the people who have the potential to win. Because the people who are winning gets decided by the other 1,000 to 2,000 people who played in the entire bracket. So I feel like those things sort of matter for the rule set as well.
But even when I'm looking at melee results, I still don't see like high amount of Ice Climber players. Like they're just like any other.
You could, same as like Jigglypuff, right? And I feel like a lot of that would be because there's a pretty like overwhelmingly negative sentiment in the community against those players. There are a lot of people who are just like, man, Jigglypuff's sick, and empower those people. I don't really have the energy for that a lot of the time.
As it turns out.
Hey, whoa, they're called big nerds.
No, as in legit. You ask any traditional fighting game player like what character they like in Melee, it's because you talk about the traditional 2D mutual.
He's playing footsies, bro. Why is everybody hating on footsies? When did we start hating on footsies? No, I'm kidding.
I'm not hearing anyone hating on footsies. If anything, you could argue it's Melee players wanting to play more footsies instead of, oh no, I got grabbed and now I am dead. But that's the thing. Wobbling is actively unique. Like Melee has characters that have parts of Punish games, depending on matchup, where a lot of the interactivity is removed. For example, Marth has a chain grab on Fox and Falco, which is easy to build a small amount of percent, and then depending on the stage and stuff, it's possible to not 100% confirm to a kill, but there are some players like Mewtwo King who, for a number of years, was able to consistently get kills off of that. It's not the same as wobbling. There's a lot more going into that. A lot more training has to happen, but you could argue it's as non-interactive as wobbling. But wobbling is also relatively uniquely non-interactive in a game that is consistently interactive in the Punish game. My arguments really don't make that much sense because I'm very much like empathizing with both sides of this issue. Like I'm not really going to be able to come out of the gate arguing for or against one. But like, so Melee has this dynamic Punish game where you're always in the game, and wobbling removes that. Like wobbling is the only time you are not like actively pushing buttons or doing stuff. So some people say, oh, that's an aberration. So maybe that's not something we should allow.
Yeah, well,
it also used to be banned.
Yeah, going from what you're saying, it literally is something that breaks the meta. It's literally the only thing that breaks. Because like you said, every other time, you can still move that little bit, right? This time, it's the only time where you cannot, even when you're being grabbed. Now, I'm not saying it's ban-worthy. Like, there are other characters to a certain extent in other games where they kind of like play outside of the meta, where, you kind of like have to prepare a different game plan when you're, going against them.
She's a cutie. Yeah, that's the risk of putting a webcam on the table.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, by the way, are you in the laundry? From what I can see behind you, look like you're like
it's my office. That's just there. Don't worry about that.
That's a clothes hanger from what I can see.
That is definitely a laundry hanger, yes. And yes, it is in my office.
Okay. Wholesome.
It's an apartment.
So as probably the most like middle groundy of the three of us here, I have some sort of thoughts. I also want to bring up some stuff in the from the chat real quick because we've sort of there've been some good points. So Jay and I, we'll talk about like the entry to Melee and like the divide between the scenes. He said that if you're playing, if you're going to play it, a big chunk of your friends up being Melee players, so they always come back. They come back to it no matter what. Whereas traditional fighters, we all seem to hang out more together, and then you end up branching out more. Like for example, I hang out with Youssef. I'm more likely to play Tekken if I don't already. Whereas Melee players are a lot more insular, so it's sort of like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
Yeah, I can see that.
In regards to the wobbling debate, okay, so the interactive element aside, that's probably the only argument that I've actually seen that's like actually made me sort of understand the wanting to ban it side, given how interactive the rest of the game is. Prior to it,
It's
like,
so sweet to look at.
Yeah.
So sweet.
but I guess like coming from like a traditional fighter's perspective and like why it sort of got our head scratching a bit, like asterisk characters exist. That's a fact of life, right? Like, you know, like I play Chun-Li in 5, right? I can't expect to fireball and walk behind and do the same thing in every matchup. There are some characters I have to just use a completely different set of tools. So having to learn a completely different set of tools for one matchup, if your goal for growth is to have people like play the best, if you can't deal with this currently like mid-tier character or whatever who has this one really good thing that will punish you if you don't know how to deal with it, that's your fault. But again, the interactive thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, but the other side of it as well is like you have a meta with what, like 7, 8 characters, and you want to ban one? Like what?
Yeah, yeah. It depends on exactly what you look at as viable. Like again, if your concept of a viable character is which ones are winning Evo, then it's like I don't know which different characters have won Evo over the last. Like I can't pull that off the top of my head over the last 5 years or whatever. But it's a pretty small amount. If you want to look at characters who can make maybe top 32 at Evo, like I don't know how many characters have won Street Fighter or Tekken. Then again, that's different games every couple of years, so that's not really a good comparison. But if you want to say maybe I feel like top 32 at Evo out of like I don't know 2,000 players is a pretty good sign that character is relatively viable. I feel like there's definitely so we've got like Marth, Fox Falco, Sheik, Falcon, Peach, Jigglypuff, Ice Climbers, Luigi, at the very least, which is 9 characters, which is only 1 or 2 more than you said. So you could argue that maybe losing. That's the thing. Ice climbing, like removing wobbling doesn't remove ice climbers. They actually also have a similar technique to wobbling, which is called handoffs. So I might have mentioned the way usually to fit. Ice climbers are crazy. They're their own game. It's wild. A lot of characters like this. Handoffs. Okay, no, you're brother. So
I'm sorry,
brother. No,
said handoff, and it really
it's a children's game.
In my head.
It's a party game.
I'm
made for
sorry, I'm
Nintendo.
a 30%.
God.
Unbelievable. So I mentioned earlier. So with the wobbling, you wobble for a while and then you throw and then basically get a smash attack in the moment they're released. So it's sort of a perfect link from the. Oh, really?
Sorry, the chat just got it. I'm sorry.
Okay. I've literally never thought that in however long I've been playing this game. So what ice climbers can basically like chain a throw, like they can throw and then grab with the other character, and then when they throw again, they can like forward smash, then grab again. It's basically like you can look at it. I could pull up a clip of ice climber handoffs for you if you'd like, but yeah, have a look at it.
Handoff?
They're called handoffs. Come on, Youssef, get it together, man.
Nah.
I got it for when we. In fact, I'll pull it up now. Top 10 ice climber handoff combos. You ready for this one, chat?
They're pretty wild. Make sure safe search is on if you're searching for handoffs.
Oh, jeez. It's a children's game. It's a children's game.
Made by Nintendo. So wobbling is pretty wild. Handoffs are pretty wild. Like if you don't know how they work, you're just like, I have literally no idea what's going on. Like it looks maybe not like Marvel, but it's just a mess of movement and like noises happening. It's a little bit crazy.
It's on stream now if people are watching it. There's Fly Amanita versus S Fat, who's just hit him with a handoff, and he looks quite upset.
Yeah, well, it sucks. Handoffs are more difficult to execute. They change per character. It depends on where your stage positioning, relative percents, the state of... Also, ice climbers, they can be synced or unsynced, which is whether or not their Nana is following your movements. There's this whole... They're their own game. There is so much tech to learn. But so you could argue that handoffs would be a reasonable substitute for wobbling. If we get rid of wobbling, they have to execute handoffs instead, which are actually difficult. I could literally teach both of you to wobble in less than 10 minutes.
But
you wouldn't be 100% consistent, especially not on... To land a wobble, it depends. Against, do you want to get top 8 at a weekly, or are you trying to win Evo? Winning Evo is probably hard, but I guarantee you could beat the absolute crap out of a lot of Sydney players just by learning how to wobble and playing
Why
footsies.
Sydney out of all people? Why? I want to beat Melbourne.
Because you're in Sydney.
Jonno's in Japan, bro.
But he's a Sydney person.
All right, I just wanted to make
You're
sure.
in Sydney. I'm speaking to the crowd. trying to bring it home for you guys. Another problem is Ice Climber is very polarizing at a low level. Like it's out of learning the low part of the game or learning other matchups. Ice Climbers are a particular wall where you like of all the other characters, if you're both bad, you can sort of go even. Falco's pretty powerful at the low level, but the Ice Climbers are like, you must be this good to ride, otherwise you are not making the top 8 at the weekly because of wobbling. And like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that they're abnormal in that fact.
Okay. It is what, like 9:30, and we've spoken at length about wobbling. I feel like at this point, the arguments have been made for both sides. Mainly the interactive one is the one that really opened
I like
my
your
eyes
take,
to this
by
thing.
the way, Dom.
Yeah, that was a very nuanced take, and I really appreciate you taking the time. But
welcome.
Let's talk about some positive
Especially
stuff.
prepared take.
Let's talk about some positive stuff. What do you want to go into? Should we talk about UCF? Should we talk about Slippy? What do you want to talk about?
So cool. So UCF and Slippy and a bunch of other things roll into some of the stuff that makes me love Melee and get so excited about Melee's future, both as a Melee player and as a streamer and as a computer science engineer, programmer, developer, whatever. A lot of Melee's life has had a lot of, hey, come on, brother.
That was good. That was giving
that was the good one. The good one. There's a long history of homebrewing and modding and stuff in the Melee scene. Back when I started playing, there was the Achilles 20XX hack pack, which had a lot of basically niceties and stuff like to make it easier to play friendlies, like shortened loading times, made it so you could all like just bump back into a random stage instead of having to go back to the character select screen, and a bunch of other training stuff that let you set up specific situations to practice, to like save and load positions and presents and stuff. More recently, there's been a thing called, I'll just briefly mention this because it's also important, called Uncle Punch. Uncle Punch's training pack. You guys might remember in Melee and some of the Smash games, they have like the event mode where it's like you need to beat 3 big Donkey Kongs, or like there's one that's supposed to be, it's called King Kong or something, and you're Mario against Donkey Kong, but he's really big against Peach on Own It, like the city level. It's like there's a lot of fun stuff like that. Uncle Punch hijacks all of those and it makes them into training specific Melee situations and tech. Like there's one, like, so in Melee there's ledge dashing, which is when you, from grabbing the ledge, you jump over the ledge and then you wave dash onto stage. Depending on, it's when executed well, you're still actually invincible from the ledge and actionable at the same time. I think Fox and Falco can be up to somewhere between 12, 16, 18 frames of vulnerability. So like this is, it's technically demanding, and if you mess it up, you air dodge into the side of the stage and you die. Like it's a really high risk, high reward execution test sort of thing. And this training pack makes it much, much easier to practice because it's a good thing to be able to practice because it's very, very useful if you play a character with a good ledge dash. Another thing, another sign of another part of this actively homebrewed scene is UCF, also known as Universal Controller Fix. In Australia, we play with UCF and we play NTSC now. As of the start of last year, the year before, I'm not sure at this point. Or we have to, thanks for that, our benevolent Lord and Overseer, DreadTech. So UCF basically eliminates controller variance. Melee is the best game ever, but it wasn't actually designed to be played competitively. And there are some techniques that have become a staple part of the meta. Specifically, shield dropping is probably one of the most important, which is, so like you can shield, which is analogous to a block in a traditional fighting game, but Melee also has platforms. So you can block, make sure you don't get hit from below or from above or from someone approaching you. But what this does when you're blocking is it takes away your ability to drop through the platform. So it removes a movement option from you. However, if I actually have a GameCube controller around here somewhere. So
of course you do.
I do. I'm a Melee player. What do you want from me? I'm sure you've got a
have a stick. You
could read. You can. Yeah, don't bully me, Youssef. So the GameCube controller has an octagonal gate. I'm not going to shove this into the camera like a nerd, but it has a gate with 8 notches. The bottom, like left, and the bottom right one, on some controllers, but not all of them, that maps to a specific like XY coordinate, or one of, I think it's a handful of XY coordinates. It's not many, where it doesn't trigger a spot dodge when you're in shield. but it does overlap with the drop through platform. So if you're shielding on a platform and you move the stick to those coordinates, you drop through the platform. So what this does is it gives you an extra movement option.
Why are you still shielding?
Sorry?
What you can drop through? Why are you still shielding?
Yes, because usually if you press down, you spot dodge. It's like you're just intangible.
Yeah.
But it allows you to just drop through while shielding, which means if someone hits your shield, you can immediately drop and then put out a hitbox above you, or you can just get away or whatever.
All right.
So there's a couple coordinates. On not all controllers, but a lot of them, those coordinates will be directly in those notches. So a very common technique is holding the shield and then holding towards the person attacking you. And then as soon as you're in like block stun or hit stun, dropping down to that notch, and then you just fall through. Like, that's not actually that hard. Unless your controller is not a magic controller, and shield dropping is very hard for you. So a lot of people have boxes and boxes of controllers, as well as there's also backdashing, which is, so imagine if, so I'm sure it's common in some fighting games, like the ability to like backdash, like hop backwards. But you can also walk backwards, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Tekken has the exact same thing. You can either walk back or back.
So, yeah, cool. Imagine if you didn't backdash consistently. Imagine if it happened random and it was literally like not possible to actually control. Like, you could get better at it, but you couldn't get 100%. And now, imagine certain controllers are better than others at backdashing. You would probably want one of the good ones, right?
Of course. I mean, that's kind of like the whole reason why people mod their sticks, because they want to work on their movement and, backdash more consistently. I mean, for Tekken at least.
Exactly. Yeah. So UCF does two things. One, it makes those shield drop coordinates, it makes that input slightly more lenient so that it matches like 90 plus, 95 plus % of controllers. Shield dropping is no longer a difficult technique to execute. It's still something you need to do intentionally. It's still something that, like, it's not just a get out of jail free card. People can bait you into shield dropping and then punish you for it. Like, that's not actually difficult to do necessarily, depending on the player. But it makes it a level playing field for the technique, but you still actually have to apply it correctly or you will lose and get kicked in the head. Backdashing in Melee is inconsistent because it's a one-frame analog input, which is different to a one-frame digital input. So obviously, fighting games, most inputs are digital in that you're either pressing the button or you're not pressing the button, which means on one frame, you're going from not pressing it to pressing it, as well as most games have some sort of input buffer. However, for example, in Melee, if you're trying to backdash, so you'll go from standing still and then you'll smash to the side to backdash, it's a 60 FPS game. The game, your controller is being polled 60 times a second for your inputs. There's like, you can't 100% of the time guarantee that if you smash to the left, that you're going to get polled, your controller's going to get polled when you hit the left. What if that once every 60 seconds input happens when your stick is halfway across? Right?
Wow. Like, I understand what you're saying.
Like, you get it, and you're just like,
yeah.
Now what?
But it's like,
yeah.
well,
So
fuck that, essentially.
yeah, it sucks, right?
Yeah.
So what if we had a simple, unobtrusive software mode that was easy to install that made it a 2-frame input instead of a 1-frame input? Also, important to note, forward dashing is a 2-frame input, but backdashing is a 1-frame input. So what if we just made backdashing 2 frames as well? It's not like we have a publisher really to please or to keep happy, except there have been some Nintendo-sponsored events that have not had UCF as a result. But yeah, so in Australia, we were just like, well, we don't really want people playing the controller lottery. Like, I don't want to. Everyone else probably just wants to be able to shield drop and backdash. Like, I don't want to lose a tournament because, like, of the 1 in 10 chance or the 1 in 7 chance or whatever of me missing a backdash.
1 in 7 is too frequent for my liking.
1 in 7 is probably honestly still underball. It's probably still lowballing it. It depends on the controller and the person.
By the way. I don't know if that matters.
This is an extremely expensive camera. That's pretty funny. There we go. It depends on the controller. Like, I've had controllers that were 50-50. Like, it was dead, like, flip of the coin whether you're going to dash back or just turn around on the spot. Because that's the thing. You don't even walk back. You literally just turn around and then start walking instead of a back dash. Or sometimes you turn around and then run. Sometimes you turn around and start walking. And sometimes you just get the frame 1 back dash. Yeah,
movement 1 lottery is the worst.
Yeah, that sucks. So, like, let's fix that. So that also, not to get too much back into the wobbling, but since this game is already, like, modded a little bit in terms of things like it's sort of like modded at a rule set level in that we agree to not we don't play on these stages. We've already narrowed the scope of the field the field of play, so to speak. There's also proposed codes to ban for banning wobbling that like no one gets DQ'd or anything. There's just a code that makes it so you just pop out of the wobble. In the same way that we've fixed UCF, and in the same way we fixed shield drops, we've fixed dashbacks. We've made it so that like if you're getting wobbled, you just pop out of the wobble.
Why
do you need to do that?
Road. It's a dangerous road.
Which I'm not a big fan of like the slippery slope argument, because like what if we just make the decisions as they come? But yeah, like that's another thing to consider, is that melee is a more it's one of those things where it's like a lot of arguments on the internet. It's not as clear cut as it may have appeared on Twitter. So yeah, UCF is great. So is NTSC. So just to briefly touch on the NTSC thing. So NTSC and PAL, the European and American/Japanese whatever video standards. You might remember back in the day, like especially when you downloaded Ocarina of Time or Pokemon ROMs, you would have seen 1.00, 1.01, 1.02. Like there was like they removed the prayer from Ocarina of Time. They used to make small changes to Nintendo games and other games when they were released. Like maybe they fixed bugs or whatever. Melee was released there's 3 different versions of Melee. There's 1.0, 1.01, 1.02. 1.02, and there's the PAL version. The PAL version has active changes to characters. For example, some of the best characters like Fox, his primary kill move is nerfed. It has significantly lower knockback, and you have to get to significantly higher percent before you can kill someone. Sheik's down throw, which is arguably a pretty important part of her toolkit, like relatively centralizing, throws at a different angle, which removes basically her. It's not a wobble, but it's relatively inescapable against a good player. That option was removed from her in PAL. A bunch of other miscellaneous characters. Some of them were buffed a little bit. Some of them were a little bit nerfed. Again, this all happened 18 years ago or whatever. NTSC is the standard in America. Europe plays PAL, and we used to play PAL. A while ago, we decided, well, we've got players who want to go to America, and America is like the biggest scene. What if we switch to NTSC? It wouldn't actually be the hardest thing in the world. Everyone just has to like put the ROM on their SD card or USB stick. We supply a lot of setups for our regular tournaments anyway. So we just sort of did it. We had sort of a vote, and there was a long drawn out discussion, and then we were like, well, actually, what if we just did this? And we did it, and most people were happy. A couple of people played characters that were sort of nerfed, and they were sort of sad about it, and that's fair. But also Spud got NTSC practice at a high level, and then he went to America and beat SFAT, and that was amazing, and everyone lost their goddamn.
And then he beat him again at Phantom.
And then he beat him again! Oh my god!
3-0.
Imagine flying to Australia and losing to an Australian. Oh my god! At anything,
Again.
like at any competitive game. Oh my god. So yeah, Melee here and abroad has a long storied history of being shaped by the players, which is why again, like wobbling and UCF and this sort of thing, you can't treat it the same way as like, oh well, that's how the game came out. Just like play the game as it was released. It's like no. What if we made the game better? And then obviously that gets subjective, and that gets into a lot of arguments about what's better. And again, a lot of this is just on Twitter, and it's a lot of uninformed, like emotional reactions. There's a lot of that cool stuff. Another fork of this. So another fork of this homebrew sort of tilt that we get to Melee nowadays is so there's this thing called Project Slippy like the frog from Star Fox.
I'm going to pull up their video for the folks watching at home.
So Slippy, as a Melee player, as a streamer, as a programmer, Slippy is the coolest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. So, you know, with League of Legends, with Dota, with these other games, and Overwatch, I believe they have replay systems. So you have this ability to rewatch an old game, and you can change the angle, or you can rewatch old games. You have replays. Obviously, you can record Melee, but then you just have a video. What Project Slippy is it's a couple parts. It's a branch of Dolphin, like it's a modified version of Dolphin. It's a bunch of action replay codes for Melee. But what it does is it enables you to have replay files for Melee. So there's a mod that you install, or it's not a mod, it's like a software patch basically for the game. The game still runs as normal, everything's the same, except after every match, it writes a replay to a USB stick, and then you can watch that replay in Dolphin on your PC, which is pretty cool in and of itself. How this works is it is pretty cool. How it works is
like to have your matches just readily available if you want to like just go over them and say, oh, I did good here, I did bad here, just rewatch them for practice.
Exactly. So
It's the
we've had some.
best form of convenience.
Yeah, immediately you're like, that is, oh my god, that's. I wish like you would wish that your game had the ability to output a replay to a USB stick. That's pretty cool. So how this works is it works by basically writing the game's, not it's the game's entire state, but it writes players' movements and it synchronizes the game state. It's really complicated. Maybe I only understand some of it. Who knows? But it basically allows you to recreate a game, and it saves just a crap load of metadata as it goes. So what this means is you can also generate stats. The first form of Slippy was actually a couple of years ago at a tournament sponsored by HTC, where between games they had stats, and it was stuff like how many times did someone roll in the last game or in that set, how many times they did this. But then it was also more interesting stuff like how many neutral wins did they have, how many neutral wins did they need to get a stock, what was the average percentage conversion off of each neutral win, how many times did they get a grab, what percentage of time did they have stage control, stuff like that, which is really, really interesting, and it can allow you to discover new things.
This is kind of like when you're watching sport, like a normal sport, and then like,
yeah, exactly.
At halftime, it's like, these are the stats, like, possession, tackles, blah, blah, blah.
100%. That's exactly allows you to do that. Yeah, it's literally the coolest shit ever. And now one of the more recent developments is, I actually got this set up the other day. There's been a couple tournaments that have used this tech recently, so what you can do is, I think there was one called, if you're looking it up, Phoenix Blue 2 should be streamed by Geeky Goon Squad. You're able to, so instead of writing that game state to a USB stick, you can stream it over the network. Like you plug an Ethernet cable into the Wii, you stream it over the network back to a PC, and then the game is mirrored in Dolphin. So you don't need a cap, you don't need a...
I'm not following.
Okay, so imagine...
You just lost me. You've been talking for about an hour, and I've been following pretty good, but you just lost.
Okay, so it's sort of like... so what it does... So you can plug the Wii into the network. You have to get a USB Ethernet adapter, but you can do this. Uh-huh. And what you do is, so you have this... there's a desktop program for Slippy. Project, it's called the Slippy client or something. If there's a Wii on your network, it comes up in the program, like that's running the Slippy mod for Melee, and you can connect to it. And then Dolphin opens, and then when there's a game playing on the Wii, what it does is it streams that information back to the PC, and then you watch the game in real time happening in front of you.
At the same time as you're playing?
Yeah, like literally 2-frame delay, depending on the network. So that's pretty cool. So what this means is you don't need... So I have this stupid, temperamental, shitty capture card for Melee because I play a really old, weird game with a really old, weird signal, and I have old, weird needs. And everyone has the same weird old capture card, and everyone hates it because it's a pain in the ass. You don't need a capture card anymore if you can just use OBS to capture Dolphin. That's pretty good already, right? But what this means is you can also, for example, you can use a mod in Dolphin to make the game widescreen, proper 16:9, and it doesn't affect the CRT that people are playing on. They're playing on vanilla Melee, but the Dolphin that you're capturing for the stream is widescreen. You can do things like use HD textures. Another cool thing you can do is you can also read that Slippy game file as it's being generated and have live stats for the game either while it's being played or between games. You can have these stats automatically like read and displayed. This is the stuff we're going to start seeing in the next 6 months or a year as people have time to develop it. In Dolphin, for example, you could use a code to turn off the HUD. So it's just like the 3D models of the game happening. There's no percentages. And you could build your own HUD in your stream overlay software on top of it that is using the live information to show lives and percents and stuff. People have already done this. They've re-implemented, like, you know how an Ultimate has the radar in the top right corner?
That's right, yeah.
You might have seen it. People have implemented that for Melee in a stream. So you're watching a stream and it's got stuff like scores flashing, and you've got a radar, and you've got live, like, there's again, Lever, Geeky Goon Squad, European streamer. He's had stuff like in venues. He's got these screens that have the characters, and then as Fox is shining and stuff, that screen is like pulsing blue and red with lasers and stuff. Like the implications for production as well as like just general spectatorship for Melee is crazy. It's like, this is one of like the coolest things I've ever seen in my whole life.
That is
this
wild.
Is actually pretty fucking insane. Like really fucking insane.
Yeah, and it's been mostly made by this one dude over like four or 5 years, I believe.
Where's he based?
The actual San Fran. He works for Smash GG as a programmer, I believe, or an engineer over there. The hypothetical potential feature of this is you could set up like a relay, sort of like a HLTV or GoTV for like Counter-Strike games, and you could spectate Evo in your game client in Dolphin. live.
Oh shit.
Like what? Obviously, that's a really bad idea because that means you can like you're not looking at ads. But again, like so, like for example, if you're using that widescreen Dolphin, if you have HD textures, that means you can do stuff like you could sell space for sponsor logos on stages. You could do
Could you though?
Yes, because the players can't see it.
No. But as in, like, you know that company that doesn't want you guys to exist. Could you though? Like that side of things.
Did you watch that summit where they were sponsored by Weed Maps?
Yeah, I did. That was wild. That
It was like a set would end and it would just be like, hey man, are you looking? They're like, take the casters look at their car. They're just like, are you looking for your fix?
That's a good point. I guess you could sell that ad space after all.
Sponsored by who?
Weed Maps. It's a startup that basically you can get diagnosed with glaucoma over through the app, and then also Uber weed to your house with your new glaucoma prescription.
You're right. You could sell that ad space. I'm sorry. That is totally.
So I have a feeling a Dr. Pepper can on Pokemon Stadium is probably not the biggest concern.
America.
That's so good.
The Weed Maps Summit is genuinely very, very entertaining just for the ad reads alone.
Oh my god. Okay, that's a good point.
So what we can conclude from this is Melee isn't dying anytime soon. Like straight up.
No, not really. Melee
like
even would have been
is like whatever.
It's
It's like just a chink in the armor, but that's about it.
I would see it as like maybe a bit of a blow to the armor, but at the same time, like, hey man, I made it this far. Like it's gonna take. There's a new documentary coming out soon that I know the guy who makes it is been very quiet for a long time, and he's talked a little bit about getting on Netflix, which I don't know if that's happening, but he's been very quiet. So imagine if the next Melee documentary was much better produced and was on Netflix.
What would they talk about though? Everyone's 30 now and have hand cramps. It's
a 6-part miniseries, and it's just about Armada. Armada's whole story. Yeah,
Armada's cool.
Suddenly it sounds pretty cool. Hey.
Armada's cool, yeah. Armada's cool.
Bit better than mine.
Because Armada wasn't super focused on in the original documentary because it was sort of like pre-him and told different stories. But Metagame, it's called Metagame, and it's just about Armada, and it's supposedly coming out at some point, but the entire thing is being made by one person. So these things take a while.
That's cool. I like the Melee guys. They're all pretty cool. I mean, Manga is a bit to me, but everyone else is pretty cool.
That's usually not the one people tend to like flake out on, but
Really?
I understand it. I get it. Yeah, no, most people just.
He seems a bit like I don't know, whinges too much.
They all whinge.
From what I've seen.
Everyone whinges.
I don't know. Maybe that's me.
Oh, it sounds like you guys are complaining about people complaining a lot.
That's what we
Well,
do.
yeah, but a valid reason.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's one of the things Melee has. A lot of those top players are personalities. They may not again, a lot of them may not be for you, but one of the big draws of the game over the last time has been since 2012, 14, 15, were the strength of those storylines. Mango and Armada, Leffen coming out of nowhere. Like when Leffen came to BAM 7, that was back when it was like, who's the best? Who's going to win this time? And Mango won. But it was back when Leffen was starting to take sets off the gods, that sort of thing.
The God Killer.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but this is a random question.
Yep.
So what's happening with PPMD? Like, is he coming back? Is he not coming back? I know he came to a doubles tournament last year. He came fifth or fourth, and now he's
he entered with his brother. I think it was his brother's last tournament. So he was like, "I'll enter with my brother," which is like a pretty cool thing to do.
And I remember a couple months ago, he made a tweet longer saying he's gonna get back into streaming and that.
I think he's made 10 Twitlongers.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He did do that recently. I remember that, but he's talked a lot in the past about coming back. He's a man who's had a string of physical and mental health issues. I, as much as the next man, would absolutely I would lose my god if PPMD came back tomorrow. My god, so to speak. I would just be ecstatic. I have a feel like he'll come back eventually. I don't know. He's been out of the metagame for a bunch of years. It's literally only question marks. The only thing we have is speculation. There's no scoop. He will maybe come back eventually, and maybe he'll be rubbish. Maybe he'll be really good again. Because he came to Apex 2015. That was his first tournament in a while. He just beat everyone, and then he disappeared again.
That's wild.
Once a god, always a god.
That Apex was nuts. Do you guys know the story of that Apex? I can tell it very quickly.
Go for it.
I do not.
So,
Please go.
So they had a venue And then which was like it was
I know this
yeah, you know
one.
this one.
Yeah, I know this
So
one.
it was I believe it was in a hotel, and everyone was staying in the hotel. And then the roof of the hotel fell in, and apparently they broke they had broken hundreds of fire codes, which is probably why it was cheap enough for a Smash tournament to take place there. This happened after people were in their rooms. This happened on the weekend. So over the course of like 24 hours, a bunch of the TOs at the time, like this has been seen as actually an inflection point for the TOs to come together and actually coordinate the scene as a whole better, as opposed to everyone just running their own things, came together. I think it was a bunch of clutch money from Red Bull, as well as probably some other people. I wasn't prepared to tell the story. I'm sure I'm
Might have been Twitch as well. I feel like Twitch might have stepped in as well. I don't know.
I know Red Bull definitely did, but I'm sure Twitch probably kicked in some efforts. They found a new venue, and they got there was a huge pitching effort from everyone there, from like the players, everyone. Like there's literally photos of people, like, you know how you would see like if there's a flood, there's a line of people all passing rice bags. There's that, but with CRTs going out of the venue and into a truck, and then they drove it all to this new hall. They got a setup. They ran the tournament. I think they finished at not a good hour on the last day, but that tournament still happened. Like the Melee community, and specifically some people with a lot of money and the organizers, goddamn clutch. Like that was the most clutch TO move potentially ever. Also, PPMD came out of nowhere and beat everyone and then went away again.
That's the story.
Those are the sort of storylines that just happen in Melee. Like this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying when Melee has a stage, it performs, as well as things like Mango and Leffen at Genesis 4 is like one of the greatest sets of all time. Like Armada and Leffen at god damn it, whatever. They've all had a bunch of crazy sets. Like there's just these incredible sets. There's incredible stories every time. I don't know if maybe it's magic. Maybe just the game's really good. Who knows? But these things have just like kept happening until now. And I guess they're probably going to keep happening. Game's exciting. Game's really good. People should play it.
I like your two proposed options. Maybe it's something that's not real, or maybe it's the game is good. You guys decide. I don't know. I'm just dumb.
I don't know. Those are the two potential options. You either have to admit the game's perfect, or maybe it's preordained magic. I don't know.
It's divine intervention.
It also
Unfortunately, I don't make the rules.
That all your top players have incredibly big mouths on Twitter. That definitely plays into it a lot. I feel
they're all
like the Twitter game is strong.
Mostly Leffen.
The Twitter game is strong in your community. I lost a set. I'm going to quit forever. Oh my god! That's just like 1-900 dial hype. I lost to Jigglypuff. I hate this game. Burn it down forever.
I would argue that there are a lot of occurrences that happening. I guarantee you, a lot more people have lost to Jigglypuff than people that have lost to Jigglypuff and then complain on Twitter.
That's true, but
like there's an element of confirmation bias, but I'm not going to say people don't complain about Jigglypuff. Oh, wobbling.
People do it in every game. It's just fun. It's just fun when it's Jigglypuff because Jigglypuff's the best. I love Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff's mad.
Hey Dom, who do you play?
Marth.
Nice.
Why?
He's a good character.
Because characters with swords are the best.
Because he's got a long sword. Do I have to play footsies if I've just got an arm that's twice as long as yours?
Fuck yeah. All right, Dom.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Right.
All right.
Also, like, sick Marth is sick. Just watch Spud and don't get excited. That's the last thing I have to say about Marth.
Spud's aight. Marth's aight. It's no puff, but you know, we can't all we can't all be big balls of fun like Jigglypuff. Literally a ball of fun. Look at how happy she is all the time.
If the chat has any questions for please do hit us. I haven't been keeping actually a lot of it. I haven't been paying a lot of attention to the chat because I actually just been listening to Dom because, like I said, I don't know much about the Melee in general, so I just wanted to learn as much as I can. And honestly, the stories were very entertaining, and the stuff you were talking about very insightful, especially from someone who, you know, plays also a more technical game and like Tekken. So like just listening to all about like stuff like shut your mouth, you play SF5. When you say you got nothing to stand on. Yeah. Well, you do play ST, but you know now you're playing SF5.
I'm just saying technical. Like I don't want to open that can of worms when we're like 5 minutes overdue to end the show. You know what I mean? That's all I'm saying.
That's fine. So just listening to the stuff. It's really, it's really interesting. Really interesting. But anyway, any questions? I'm pretty sure there have been some before, but I missed them. I saw a lot of question marks at the end of sentences, so I do apologize.
We hit most of it.
That's technically a question, yeah.
One thing I will say is I got to stuff around my stream settings. I couldn't handle the YouTube and the stream at the same time because I got it on 60 frames for some reason. So for all the videos that we mentioned that like cut out or whatever, check the show notes because I'll post it up later. That's all.
So there was a question from Marty that goes, "What do you guys think about the Smashbox?"
Well, that'd be a good one.
I don't know enough, so I'm just gonna allocate it to Dom.
Can we touch on this one briefly? Is that okay for time?
Yeah,
We're good.
Don't worry about it, John.
So there's a couple. So there's a couple box controllers. There's one called the Box, and there's the Smashbox. Smashbox made by the Hitbox team. The Box is made by a couple of Melee players who have started their own venture. It's basically a Hitbox for Melee and for Smash games in general, which is sort of the sort of like sounds okay on its head, but then it's just but then Melee again, one of the only fighting games that has. Fighting game, sure, whatever. Let's just not have that discussion now. But that would has analog inputs for movement, and it's a game that is extremely, extremely movement focused. And those controllers uniquely reduce your movement to digital inputs, as well as making it so, like for example, like Fox. Fox has a recovery move called Firefox, where he's in like a ball of fire and then he like shoots off in an angle.
I know that.
Getting specific angles or doing specific, like hitting specific angles with that move is something you need to practice and something you need to be able to. It's technically demanding, especially under pressure. With the Smashbox, if you want to get a specific angle, you just got to push like the direction buttons and then a couple modifiers. Not necessarily easy, but it's a big departure. As well as there's some really, really weird things like, for example, left and right on the Smashbox, I think equate to like -1 and 1 on the x-axis for a controller, but 90% of controllers can actually only get up to 0.9875 and minus 0.9875. Most controllers, which means, for example, it means in really weird specific situations, if you're like, for example, if you go up, so you get up thrown or whatever, you can DI that. You can DI at any angle. Like you can DI left or right. If you're able to input a 1 or a -1, you can actually get out by going slightly further to the side. So certain things that are guaranteed are no longer guaranteed if you're using a box controller, or you have a magic controller that can do those inputs, or if you've modified your controller to make it so that it can hit those inputs.
Or that's it, no more ors.
Yeah. Oh, well, also it makes your movement digital, which is pretty wild.
I just want to.
I think they're cool. I'm about it. They're for some people can't play the game because of RSI or wrist stuff. I have my own wrist problems, so like sort of sympathize there. And the Smashbox or these box controllers are the only way they can play. So like from an accessibility standpoint, like I just want people to play the game. If it means Hax is gonna keep playing Melee, then I'm sort of for it because Hax is very, very cool.
Sick, there you go. That's the only nuanced take you'll get about Smashboxes from this panel, and that's a very good take indeed. Thanks, good question,
Hax is very cool.
Melee sounds like it's like this like never-ending maths problem that no one figured out the solution. That's why it's still been going.
Like 3 or 4 years ago, someone found out that if you press the Z button, I think it's within 2 frames of being hit, you take 5% less knockback.
Why?
This was discovered just to
How did this happen?
No. It's like,
is it by design though?
For some reason, people just So Smash people are really bad at naming things. This has been called V canceling, short for velocity canceling, which is straight up garbage, just very bad. But yeah, like there's like weird things like that just keep being discovered across the board.
Melee community, don't die. You guys are this is great. This is like the best and the worst thing at the same time. I love it.
I should have. Oh, there's so much weird stuff. Like there's Link has like his hitbox for his Nair is broken, and the hitboxes don't turn off for like way too long. This might be misinformation. I'm pretty sure it's not. I haven't read it that often, but it's also really obscure. So whatever. I'm pretty sure the way hitboxes in Melee work is they turn on for a certain amount of frames, and I'm pretty sure those hitboxes turn on for they're still turned on past the end of the move. So you can Nair, and then if you frame perfect up air, I'm pretty sure for 1 frame, you can have hitboxes on your legs and on the sword above him.
By design.
Which is absolutely not. Under no circumstances is that bad.
Fixed.
Perfect game, motherfuckers.
Really? Okay, last really weird esoteric Melee fact. I I don't understand this one at all. But so characters
You
have what's
seem
called
to understand the game very fucking well, Dom.
or is it like Dota? You play for 2,000 hours, just like, no, I don't understand this game at all. So there's what's called characters ECB, or environmental collision box. It's sort of like it's how the game determines what part of the stage they're colliding with. It's important for a lot of micro situations like ledge dashing. But for some reason, Captain Falcon's green skin, his ECB is slightly wider, which means in specific situations, for example, do you know how Pokemon Stadium has transformations?
Yep. I know that.
You know the one with the wall on the side?
Yep.
You know how there's the tiny platform?
Yep.
Or if on that platform, if Falcon stands there and charges down smash, when you let go, his leg will kick out, he'll get too wide and he'll fall off. But with the green one, if you stand there, as soon as you start charging it, he'll fall off. Only with the green skin.
I'm flabbergasted.
You people are insane. I'm going to say it again. You people are insane. I love
Most
you.
of these
You're
things
insane.
are not like relative to the competitive meta. Like that's not going to come up very often. But man, it's pretty wild. Hey,
It's pretty wild.
man, it's nuts.
There's a gentleman in the chat by the name of Blogity. I don't know how you pronounce it. And he's asking if he can get a shout out from you, Dom.
Yeah, hi Bluggity. He's from here. I know him. I guess shout out to Bluggity, I guess.
All right. He guesses.
I love you, Bluggity.
All right, Dom, plug some stuff. Let's send it home. What do you got to plug?
Yeah,
buddy?
please plug some stuff.
Follow Melbourne Melee on Twitch and Twitter. Follow Couch Warriors everywhere as well. And the Couch Warriors Smash Twitch account. Check out BAM, which is coming up in a couple of months in May. If you're in Australia, there's honestly no excuse to not go. It's definitely the Evo of Australia, like inarguable.
Correct.
Follow me on Twitter, I guess. Dom Hynes. It's just my name everywhere. It's a blessing and a curse of a handle, but here we are. Yeah, that's about all the things I have to plug. In my life, I have me and there's Melee.
Hell yeah.
In terms of things that I have here actively to plug.
Sounds like
Well, it kind of goes back to what Dredd said at the beginning of the podcast, how he's like, Melee is a lifestyle. So, and just listening to what you've been saying and just the passion about the scene in general and how dedicated they are. Just like you said, the game gets no backup from anyone else except the community. So if you're into Melee, you're really into fucking this game.
It's a really good game.
And
it's a really good game.
When I come back, I promised Zorzi, like console Zorzi, that we'd enter a doubles tournament with Yoshi and Jigglypuff because I feel like that's a bad time for everybody that's not us, and
That's
I can't
sick.
wait.
That's incredible. I would love to see it.
You have my word. I miss that game. I played it at BK a little bit when I was back, and just doing puff things. Man, I love back air, man. Can we get back air in more games? That's a good move, man. I like that move.
You guys should play. I'm going to teach you to hate Jigglypuff. The Jigglypuff Moth matchup has a couple tricks in it that are wild, and you are not prepared for.
Yeah, someone beat me in that. That's why I picked up Sheik because it seems easier. I don't know. That's also easy.
Sheik has a similar level of approachability. I know someone who plays Sheik just because his name is YB, which stands for Young Esports. He plays Sheik because he works on a boat or that sort of thing. Sometimes he doesn't have access to Melee for a long time, so he plays Sheik so he doesn't have to practice.
That's why I picked up both those characters. Yeah, that sounds really inspiring to me. I'm all about that.
Smart, man.
Excellent.
All right. Well, Dom, thanks a lot for sticking around with us. We're going to
Honestly, thank you very much.
Do you want to hold your cat up or something while we quickly plug the show?
Yep, for sure. Oh, she's playing with the toy. I'll see if I can get her to jump on the table. Come on,
right,
come on.
Youssef,
Just stop plugging. This is the toy. She will appear.
Just want to
She's
say
gonna claw the crap out of me.
one last time, support locals, support upcoming, well, they're not that upcoming, but like support stuff like Tasmania FighterCon. Oh yeah, that's right. Newton's
She's the
approved.
best.
So,
yes, for sure.
Please come out and support Expand Gong. Doesn't matter, where you
Yes, go
are.
to Gong.
Try to make the trip. We'll look after you here in NS Dub. And I guess follow me and Jonno on Twitter.
_fade _ at Gamera.
Yeah.
You know how it is.
And,
It's really good SEO.
yeah. And besides that, I guess support. And if you like something, fucking support it
That's
and
a good
play
way
it.
to do it.
And
Yeah.
Peace
I'll support
out.
that.
Dom, thanks again.
Thanks, Dom.
We're going to wrap it up.
All right, let's
God
do the
bless
wrap up
gamers.
real quick. All right, you can find I Don't Even Podcast every second Tuesday at twitch.tv/Gamera or later on youtube.com/Gamera and all podcast services except Spotify because I haven't been bothered to do that one yet. You can tweet, as we said, _fade_ for Youssef or Gamera. Let us know what you want to know. Guess, feedback, whatever. We're trying to make this thing better. We just do it because we like fighting games. I will plug one thing real quick. This isn't to do with IDEP. This is a personal plug. I'm starting a new console show in the next week that's focused on like just Japanese games. So like stuff that like because I can kind of read Moon. So for like 2 hours a week, I'm just gonna like fire up Twitch and play random games in Moon, not meme. I am a meme, so it kind of pans out. So follow twitch.tv/the consoles band for that stuff. But otherwise, Dom, thank you for being here. Youssef, thank you as always. Chat, thank you for watching.
Happy to be here.
And I don't know, we'll see you in 2 weeks with something.
We'll definitely have something cooking in the next 2 weeks.
We'll figure it out.
Until then, go to Expand Gong.
Go to Expand Gong.
Go to Expand Gong.
See yous. Handoffs.